Thanks a lot for that, Simon. So on Tech Base tonight, a Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Police has recommended that lawmakers adopt a rule which would provide all frontline police officers in South Africa with their own body cams. They would serve to record an officer's every move and their interactions with the worst of whom society has to offer. This is the rationale. Now, a few years ago, it was predicted that the consumer market would see a dramatic uptake in wearable technology, and in the security market, we're seeing a similar trend, they said. Body-worn cameras are believed to be becoming must-have accessories for police forces the world over, with numerous studies showing their efficacy in reducing crime and unwanted conduct, both from the public and the police. Axon SA is another company that's brought the technology into South Africa. Its Managing Director Ashley Sanichar joins us now. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us on Tech Base.
Great, thank you to have me.
So let's just first start with whether or not it has taken off in South Africa. How widespread is the availability of body cams?
So the cameras are available. I think the adoption is where we're lacking right now. The intent is there, as you've seen from the Portfolio Committee, and the police have recently made a request out to public organizations to respond to a tender. So the desire for the issuance of cameras is there right now with the police. So
the desire would be born out of what? Studies that have done in other countries that have had success. I'm thinking of a country such as the UK and the US. There have been mixed results there as well.
Yeah, in fact, we've, as a company, we started off in the US, 25 years in this particular market, and we deal in connected law enforcement technology. Huge successes in North America, across Europe, Asia, Australia. The only country we've actually penetrated right now in Africa is Morocco. They're using 5,000 cameras on their officers and their military police as well. I think the time is coming. You'll find that police agencies like the London Metro Police have deployed 22,000 cameras to their field officers. These officers are not armed, so they don't have much defense against knife attacks. So recently they've started to use alternate use of forces like tasers, and to back them up, to record any incidents they might have, they're using body cameras. We've had success now as well in Italy, in Germany. So all of the police agencies across the world are starting to adopt this new technology.
So we'll talk about how the technology itself works and what kind of capabilities it has, and of course what the cons are. But I'm going to focus on the United States, which obviously when it comes to interactions between civil society and the police, it hasn't always been the greatest of story, even with police officers wearing body cams. So some say it's a hindrance, and some say it makes officers behave more humanistic. What have been your findings?
Our findings support that as well with the agencies we work with in North America. That's exactly what happens. I'll give you examples. Like in Las Vegas police, they saw a 37% reduction in complaints against officers for the use of force. Now, use of force means that the officer, how they dealt with that individual, when they arrested that person, did they use excessive force? Or did they act, as you say, humanely? Rialto Police Department was one of the first police to try these cameras, and 400 officers used those cameras, and the results were quite astounding. 87% of the officers felt that they had a reduction in false complaints against them. So what happens is when the officer's wearing a camera, in all of these agencies using them today, they find that the officers behave more professionally because, well, when they're interacting with the public, that's what's expected. They're doing their jobs better. And the public also, even when they're usually very rude or tend to get into arguments with officers, they tend to back off because they know they're being videoed.
But then, okay, so I'm going to reflect on some of the research that says that part of the problem is that being wired to a body cam may just limit them acting with their more humanistic instincts, but also the ability to cut corners to get desired results. And I go back to the US, as you say, prosecutions have improved because of body cams, but then we've also seen what some have said are surprising results following a trial because a police officer would argue that as a trained officer, they were using their natural instincts. So it cuts both ways, doesn't it?
It does certainly cut both ways. And it comes back to the kind of training that the officers get in the field. The technology can't solve all the challenges we have. And at the end of the day, I think we need to understand that the police are human. They're people like us. They're a part of the community. And if the officer doesn't feel he's a part of the community, he's not going to behave in a way that is conducive to helping the community.
So let's talk the technical stuff, and of course you'll correct me where I'm wrong.
Okay.
I'd imagine live streaming being a major part of that,
yes.
and for a country like South Africa, bandwidth then would be of concern.
Yeah. Okay, so the technology does exist and it's available. I think the live streaming is a very important bit of technology that's coming, okay? What we shouldn't focus on too much is that, normal patrol officers will never need to live stream unless, there's a real dire situation and they need some assistance from a control room or perhaps their superiors back at maybe the main station, as an example. Where live streaming would be extremely useful is in service delivery protests. Where officers are facing situations maybe they didn't anticipate in public order policing. Live streaming would work really well where officers who, senior officers who are not at the scene might be able to see what happens. They're a bit more experienced and be able to share and give instruction to officers on the ground. So that's a really good use of live streaming.
So talk us through then the data storage, because that's also being raised as a concern. Manual downloading and also the accuracy thereof.
Yes. So the camera systems we've designed have come from almost a decade of working with police. And it's an absolute simple workflow for the officer. In fact, the camera, I brought one of the models, if you don't mind. I brought this one, and it's quite a robust device. This is the Axon Body 2. The next generation with live streaming and gunshot detection is coming out in the next quarter of this calendar year.
So how would gunshot detection then work?
So let's pretend this is the Axon Body 3.
Yes.
When this camera is switched on, then the camera is listening. It's not recording.
Okay.
Because
so it responds to a sensor?
It does. So it's only recording when the officer initiates a recording, okay? We've also got technology that if an officer draws his firearm, then we can enable the camera to start recording as well. Now with gunshot detection, when this camera hears gunshots around the officer, it will automatically start recording, sends a signal, an alert signal back to the control room for someone to now start streaming that video footage and offer assistance to the officer.
So actually, quick one, should it or is it just being used by members within the security forces, or do private individuals get to use it, and how much does it retail at? Okay,
so we only sell to law enforcement agencies and private security firms. And this particular camera is about $450.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. That there is Axon SA Managing Director Ashley Sanichar. Let's take you back to Francis now.